It used to always be you're giving up so much sound quality because you don't have the box that's controlling everything, particularly for the bass and stuff like that. If you're just going into a wall or a ceiling, which could go to an attic or a floor above, how does that impact how the bass sounds coming through these?
Well, they're all designed for an infinite baffle application. And once you get above a certain volume, it doesn't matter how much more volume there is, they're going to behave about the same. So they're quite flexible. We have to make sure of that because in some locales, a fire-rated back box is required. They're available for all of them. And that's, of course, a considerably smaller volume. So there'll be less low frequency extension, but we make sure that the parameters are such that you're not going to get a giant peak in the bass from an underdamped system. So they'll work in a wide range. There's always a fire block at the ceiling and floor, and often somewhere in between. So in the real world, they work quite well in that environment. Actually, the optimum sound quality, contrary to what a lot of our dealers think, is to not have a back box because of that much greater volume that you have at your disposal. Back boxes have the two advantages of reducing acoustic breakthrough to an adjacent room and also where they're needed for fire code.
So another question on this. If I put it in the wall versus if I have a freestanding Rebel speaker, what concerns am I going to have if I'm like one of our home theater forum members and they want to go put these in the wall? The thing that comes through my mind is like the wall board vibrating or getting these other resonances that I wouldn't necessarily get. Is there some special installation things that people need to do when doing these, or is it?
Well, if you have new construction, then absolutely you would want to glue the wallboard material to the studs for exactly that reason, to minimize the introduction of resonances. Yes, they're not going to be the same as a properly designed freestanding cabinet, so there's a chance of resonances that are above the threshold of audibility. That's a downside to any in-wall, no matter what kind of isolation mechanism you try to introduce. There is that, but you'd be really, really shocked listening to these. We've done comparisons against freestanding loudspeakers, and they do very, very well.
Now, when do these ship? Is this line just new now at CEDIA, or
it's just new, and every one of them is shipping as of this week, except for this little tiny one, which will be next month. And this one's designed to be used with a subwoofer and really more in distributed background kind of levels. It's certainly not a home theater speaker.
You would use these with a subwoofer too, though, right? If you're going to have these if you're going to have if your better half doesn't want to have speakers on the floor and you have to be in the wall, you'd still want to use these in conjunction with a sub, right?
For a home theater, absolutely. But for general music listening, they work very, very well. The 990 is 3 dB down at 35 hertz in a full stud bay. So that's pretty amazing. You certainly don't need a sub in those circumstances. And all of them go as low or lower than anybody else's that we know of as competitors in their category.
I noticed that these have a different kind of mounting in the back than this here. Do they mount the same in the wall?
The top two models, this is a 7-inch two-way and the 9-inch three-way, use a different mounting mechanism.
Kevin, I just wanted to say hello. Sorry to interrupt.
Good to meet you, or see you. They're very large, so that tends to weaken the wall because of the big hole you've cut out. So we have a different mounting system that actually makes the wall stronger than if there was no hole in the wall. Also, the top two models.
How does that work, though? I mean, if I cut a hole out, how do I get back here? Do I have to cut a hole on the opposite side?
You actually, These come out, and this is cast aluminum baffle, so no resonances from the baffle. This comes out with the 4 bolts, and then you screw in this frame, and it works by tightening these. These clamp down, and you have very, very tight interface there to the wall. And then the grill goes over and covers everything.
I like the magnet part. That's really slick.
Yeah, and
so this would be 16 inches here to here on this edge, then, right?
Yeah, they fit.
So it's stud to stud, or is it stud to stud, or is this?
No,
still...
there's room.
Okay,
there's plenty of room. Another thing, attention to detail, and this is a pretty darn important one. Most loudspeakers that use magnets, and there are a number of them around now, the magnets are glued into the plastic and they fall out because they're neo-magnets and there's not very much surface area to glue to. So we've actually got an embedded a metal strip so that the magnets are glued to a ferrous metal strip, so there's no way that they're going to fall out.
I wish my Rebel surrounds that I have had the magnetic strip. They have the Velcro.
Yeah.
So when I saw this, I was like, wow, this is nice having the attachment on this.
Well, same as we use in the Ultima series for floor standing speakers.
Well, this is great. This is great new news about being in-wall, so people have a choice on if they want to be freestanding or in-wall. I know there's a lot of our home theater forum people that come onto the forum that are always kind of debating on, well, do I do freestanding or I do in-wall? And I know the myth, as far as I'm concerned, has always been, well, if you're in-wall, it's kind of quality bars going down. So it's great to see that. Also, I got to witness a couple years ago your soundstage, double-blind soundstage, and when we have our home theater forum meet next year, we're hoping maybe we can have people come and see that. And
absolutely,
really see
I would love to have your readers experience the system, because it's one of the most eye-opening audiophile experiences you can have, and not related to our speakers, related to the whole experience of a double-blind listening test and how your assumptions can be really, really
out of curiosity for that, though, when I was there, it was freestanding speakers that we were seeing in the double-blind test. How do you do it for a double-blind test for something that's supposed to be in a wall?
So we have a triangular wall, and it moves very, very quickly. And of course, the same thing, it's computer controlled and randomized and all that. So that gives us the wall without any diffraction on the edges. I mean, it comes almost completely edge to edge. So we can do the same thing for in-wall and in-ceiling loudspeakers. And to tell you the truth, we bought dozens and dozens and dozens of our competitors' loudspeakers at all of these price ranges, and it was torture doing these listening tests because they're pathetic as a group. So it's your readers that believe that in-walls don't sound good and in-ceilings don't are, as a whole, right, because most of them are really, really atrocious. So they can be assured that they're getting the best thing for the money with the Rebels.
One more question. On my floor standings Rebels that I have the boundary compensation switch. And you've always told me, well, use that, if you're going to be really close, like we use them on the HDBD truck.
Yeah.
Why are they on in-wall?
That's a good question, isn't it? Because if you're near a secondary boundary, so we know, and that's one of the nice things about architecturals is, one big thing about the placement. I mean, that boundary is there, and that you don't have the acoustic problems of the dip that you always get, and then the rising response from a nearby boundary. That's completely gone with a properly designed loudspeaker. So if the ceiling is here and you get the speaker too close to it, or there's another wall here and you get too close to it, you're going to have the same sort of effect as if you put a floor standing speaker very close. So that will compensate for that. We recommend better placement But if that's impossible, and sometimes it is, we provide that electrical compensation.
Great. Well, thanks for your time, Kevin.
Thank you very much.
Great.